The following is a hockey podcast out of Vancouver and Surrey, British Columbia. It'll only consist of a lot of puck talk and even more BS, or in actual words, banter and satire. Enjoy, and as always, go Canucks go.
This just in, the Canucks will not go 82-0. And this also just in, Tyler Myers, he ain't very good at playing hockey. More on that next on Locked On Canucks.
You're Locked On Canucks, your daily podcast on the Vancouver Canucks. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's going on? Welcome to another episode of Locked On Canucks. My name is Trevor Beggs, co-host here on Locked On Canucks, and also a part-time credentialed media member over at Daily Hive Vancouver. Before we dive into the episode, we got to thank you, yes, you, for tuning into Locked On Canucks. It's your team every day. Make sure you go subscribe or follow for free on YouTube or wherever you listen to podcasts. Also got to tell you before we dive into the episode that today's episode is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off your very first purchase. All right, on today's episode, we got to talk about the Canucks' biggest concern. Yeah, they lost the third game of the season to a team that's supposed to be one of the worst teams in the NHL. It's all good, except for the defense, okay? The defense is still an absolute mess, and it's definitely the biggest concern for the Canucks right now. Also got to keep it a little positive. So in segment 2, we'll touch on Thatcher, Demko, and the Canucks' stellar goaltending to start the season. But let me introduce someone who's also pretty stellar, my co-host, Kyle Bhawan. How you doing, buddy?
I'm doing good, and I'm going to start skipping rope today again. So I'm evolving, all right? Getting shredded ahead of summer 2024, only a few months away, all right? Kyle Bhawan, Trevor Beggs, Locked On Canucks, your team, your Canucks every day. And even though we lost, I'm excited to have this conversation with you because I think we're thinking a little different, okay? You're looking at one thing being a big concern, and I'm looking at another being maybe even a bigger concern because I feel as if they can handle that situation right now. Whereas the other thing, the defense, you're kind of stuck with what you got in a capped-out world across the NHL. Anywho, we'll get to Comment Corner, the best part of the show. At the end of the show, Beggsy, man, that was a waste of time. A waste of time. 3 p.m. You got people excited in the lower mainland, across Canucks Nation. I know a lot of people left work early, They're like, you know what? Screw the bills. Screw the tuition for my children. I'm gonna dock off a couple hours, get home early, and escape to some Canuck games. And, the Canuck game yesterday. And it was, again, just a waste of time. They didn't show up, and we showed up, and that's not fair. They didn't show up for the second straight game, in my opinion. That's just the truth. Anyways, Trevor, take it away before I start dropping some F-bombs. What did you think about yesterday's game?
Well, I think it came down to a 20-minute atrocity. And, yeah, they didn't start the game great, giving up that goal a couple minutes in. But I thought they had some pushback after the first goal. And you look at the first period, Shaw's chances kind of even. You figured the Flyers were going to come out hard, right? It's a John, they lack talent, but they still have good guys there. And it's a John Tortorella coach team. That team seems to start well before falling off a cliff. So I predicted that was going to be a close game. I'm actually going to come clean. I was on a Flyers podcast previewing the game from a Canucks perspective, and I actually predicted a Flyers win. So maybe I was trying to reverse jinx it.
What's going on here, Trevor?
I was on the same podcast. Here's the thing. I was on the same podcast the year before. I predicted a Canucks win. The Canucks lost, of course. So I was hoping a little reverse jinx, reverse psychology. It did not work.
You know what? You're bad.
But I didn't expect that. Kyle, I didn't expect that, okay? First period, again, not so bad, but the second period was one of the worst periods of hockey I've seen this team play in quite some time. And that's saying something because this team has been bad for 10 years, okay? Getting outshot 23-2 by the Philadelphia Flyers. Are you kidding me? No one was good. And Tocchet said it after the game. Demko is the only good guy out there. And Pettersson and Kuzmenko made some mistakes. It was all throughout the lineup. Like Höglander, there was players all across the board making mistakes. Not to mention Tyler Myers, the king of chaos, was bad himself.
Man.
But to me, it was one of my biggest concerns coming into the season, the defense. And surprise, I think everyone said that. But not only that, the fact that you have Hughes and Hronek on your top pairing, and you have Cole, Myers, Juleson, and now Soucy, I guess, in his first game, who did not look good himself.
Half a Soucy. That's what I like to call him. Half a Soucy. Yo, can this team just stop starting Tyler Myers in games? I'm pretty sure they didn't do that in game 1. I'm pretty sure it's got Quinn Hughes' first game as a captain. I'm assuming that they put Quinn Hughes on the ice for game 1 against Edmonton. Someone do the math. Check it out for me. But for the last 2 games, The first one, the second one against Edmonton, and the third one against the Flyers. Tyler Myers starts the game at the 20-minute mark of the first period, and that guy is way too chaotic. We mentioned this on the show, right? He's one of those guys, if he has a bad start to the game, he gets in his head. He cannot climb out of that hole. If he has a decent start, he can stay decent. Do not start Tyler Myers at the start of games. This team lacks defensive structure. It's not in the culture, and it's too hard to build up confidence when the first shift of the game is like it has been over the last 2 games. And Tyler Myers is a huge part of it. I know it's a team effort, but he's a huge effort on why this team has struggled out of the gate. He has sucked, been embarrassing in the beginning of these games. He's one of those players, again, momentum's a huge thing for him, and they need to ease him in. And I know you mentioned this so many times, and I know our listeners did, and everyone's been talking about this in Canucks Nation. They have to shelter Tyler Myers to somehow get the best out of him, like ask him to do less. And right now with injuries and whatnot, and kind of that first pairing watering down the rest, it just hasn't been an easy road to get, again, Tyler Myers towards a path of success, because quite frankly, they're asking him to do too much. But it's just, it's one of those Tocchet things, yo. Like, Tocchet, if you're listening to this, just start Quinn Hughes for the rest of the season on shift 1. I know you may be listening to this and think I'm over-exaggerating this, but when, again, we're talking about a Canuck team that lacks confidence defensively, you best believe it's easier for this team to, have a decent game, a more calmer game, when Tyler Myers is not starting at the 20-minute mark of the first period. Am I crazy? Am I delusional? But I do, again, tie in the fact that this team has started so poorly. I don't know how you're giving them so much credit for that first period. I know it was not like the second period of the game, but they were just outworked from the jump. And that's another cause for concern as well. It really is.
Yeah, and maybe I'm getting them the benefit of the doubt too much, but I thought they had a pushback after that goal. They had a couple shifts where they were cycling the puck down on the Flyer zone. Drew a penalty, had a power play. Look, it wasn't a perfect game for sure. There was a lot of cause for concern, but to me, it was really the second period. And I'm just trying to bring things into perspective. I think, a loss to the Philadelphia Flyers and that fast, you're like, oh my God, this guy is falling. What is happening with this team? I'm just saying the Canucks are still 2-1 and we're 3 games into this season. Let's see how they respond against the Tampa Bay Lightning. More on that on tomorrow's episode. But yeah, the defense, it concerns me greatly. And, right now the Canucks, they really do have a top 3, bottom 3. Like, look at the ice time through the first 3 games. Quinn Hughes playing 24 and a half, like Hughes and Hronek both playing 24 and a half minutes. Ian Cole averaging 22:45, and then Myers averaging 18:51. And then you have, Akito Hirose, Noah Juleson were around 12 minutes. Carson Soucy played about 15, a little under 16 minutes. So Tyler Myers is still playing too much. Like, Tyler Myers needs to be in that Carson Soucy, Akito Hirose, Noah Juleson type of ice time. It's just, part of the logic coming into the season for me is that, okay, you have Quinn Hughes on your first pairing. You have Hronek on your second pairing playing the right side. You can finally push Tyler Myers down to the third pairing where he belongs. Maybe he can be a good third pairing defenseman. We know he can't be a good top 4 defenseman.
Yeah.
So why is this team still trying to force him into a top 4 role? I get that they only got Noah Juleson there, and he's not very good either. But man, oh man, like, you just got to put someone with Hughes, someone with Hronek, and Tyler Myers on the third pairing.
Dude.
Like, to me, for Tyler Myers to work long term in the top 4, it's not going to work.
It's not
because we've seen it not work for 4 years in Vancouver already.
Dude, he cannot handle the heat. And you best believe early on in the season when teams are, opening up their season at home or whatever, their home openers, like, they're going to come out strong. Avoid putting Tyler Myers on the ice. Another thing that's really concerning too, and this is a big issue because I feel as if it speaks for the camaraderie in the room, but how come we continue to see Pettersson receive shots, whether they be cheap or just clean hits like he did yesterday, and nobody do anything? Like, no flyby, what's his name? Desjardins, what was his name? Delorier or whatever his name was, right?
Yeah, Delorier.
Yo, he played a great game yesterday. Everyone on the Flyers played a great game. He smokes Pettersson, and dude, like, Pettersson's checking his number, who hit me? Yo, can somebody just fly by him, give him a slash? Yo, tell him to F off. You get what I'm saying? Like, at the minimum, you got to see that as a fan, but also for Pettersson, don't you think? And even Quinn Hughes, he gets smoked. He gets smoked cleanly. I'm not saying drop the gloves and retaliate like that, but yo, at the bare minimum, a little bit of a pushback, because you cannot have that happening. And the league can't just see that happening.
Yeah.
And, like, I don't know. This is not like 2010, 2011 where it's like, okay, we'll make them pay on the power play. It's like, dude, that's just simply not good enough. It's not good enough. And I've seen it a lot early on this season. And, yeah, I don't know. That's not something like Tocchet's got to call them out in the media for, but I feel as if there's got to be some internal conversation about that. Because when you don't see it, for me, that's a big cause for concern. Because it's like, how come you're not seeing it? I feel like on the majority of teams where they have superstars, you're going to see the minimum, the bare minimum of a bit of a pushback. And we're not seeing anything when our two best guys are getting smoked. I don't like that. Yo, Beggsy, if you got hit cleanly, if you got hit, though, I would say something. I know you would, too. Remember that Halloween party, okay?
Oh, yeah.
Remember somebody said something to you, and you punched him in the face, okay? Unbelievable, man.
Oh, I forgot about that. That's a great story. Maybe I'll leave this up to the commenters. Okay, what is the biggest concern for the Canucks right now for you? Is it the defense or is it the lack of pushback? Because I agree, Kyle.
Dude,
watching Pettersson and Hughes get abused and nothing happen, it makes me mad. It makes me want to jump through my TV and do something about it. Like I was that guy on the ice. I was, I was a smaller guy out there, but I was always standing up for teammates.
Dude, you got
something went down.
Why do you think it's not happening though? Isn't that kind of weird? Like, these guys have been around for a while.
I think the Canucks,
they don't love them?
Yeah, I don't know. I think it might go back to the Canucks having a quiet locker room. Like they're just, maybe it's a timid team, and that is a long-term concern if this team really is.
Damn, this is getting dark, bro. Let's get out of here, man.
That is getting dark. So again, we'll leave that question up to the commenters. Biggest concern is the defense or is it the lack of pushback? Because Kyle, to your point as well, if it's a clean hit, there's no power play to go make the pay on, right? You can make them pay if it's a dirty hit or a dirty play, but if it's a clean hit, you still got to do something.
Again, just fly by, give the cross check, tell them to F off. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm just asking for a little bit. You know who wouldn't be okay with this? Luke Shen.
Luke Shen would not be okay with this. You got to have your teammates back. But you know who does have your back when it comes to your car? eBay Motors, baby, because passion, drive, and patience, that's what brings home the winning trophy, and it's also what keeps your ride or die alive. eBay Motors has everything you need to maintain your vehicle and level it up to peak performance. From superchargers, roof racks, exhaust kits, LED headlights, and more. Whether you're into speed, power, or style, eBay Motors has got you covered. With over 122 million parts to choose from your number one ride or die, you'll always find exactly what you're looking for. And with eBay Guaranteed Fit, your part is guaranteed to fit your ride every time or your money back. Because with eBay Motors, you're burning rubber, not cash, baby. With all the parts you need at the prices you want, it's easy to turn your car into the MVP and bring home that W. Keep your ride or die alive at ebaymotors.com. Eligible items only, exclusions apply. eBay Guaranteed Fit, only available to U.S. customers. I also got to shout out an app that I love because it eases my stress, eBay Motors eases the stress with your car, and Game Time eases my stress when it comes to buying tickets at the last minute. I'm a big last-minute deals guy, and when I needed a last-minute deal on tickets, I go to Game Time. Game Time, they got my back. I get these emails from Nicole at Game Time, and she's always teasing me with concerts and events this week in my area. Not only are those weekly emails a tease, but Game Time also offers me flash deals on last-minute tickets. You can get exclusive flash deal on tickets for football, basketball, baseball, concerts, comedy, theater, and more. Now I have no choice but to get off my hiney and go check out a local show on a Friday night.
Hey.
So go snag the tickets without the stress with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed.
People, before we get back to the show, baby, I gotta tell you that new episodes of Locked On Canucks will be available wherever you stream podcasts and on YouTube at 4:20 p.m. for no reason at all, okay? New episodes every day at 4:20 p.m. Again, wherever you stream podcasts and on YouTube. Let's get back to the show. Okay. You're back on another episode of Locked On Canucks. My name is Kyle Bhawan. More importantly, that is Trevor Beggs. And more importantly, you are here with us. If you do enjoy the rest of today's episode, hit the like button, subscribe. And if you didn't, please don't do that because we don't want to encourage lying on the program. Don't lie to yourself. Save the world with one less lie at a time. Beggsy, you want to talk about Demko? I want to talk about that Halloween party just a little bit more because that's a throwback, man. I'm gonna share the details, man. Trevor Beggs, I bring him to a party. Trevor Beggs, I leave the party because one of my friends got way too drunk. I had to walk him home. So Trevor's at a party alone. He doesn't know anyone other than one girl that he happens to, just be flirting with, doing his thing, who happens to be the sister of the host. The sister of the host of the party. Okay, and the host of the party, he was dressed up as a member from NWA. He was a tough guy, and he didn't like Beggsy flirting with his sister. And next thing you know, Trevor's in a brouhaha, 1 versus 5. He doesn't have any friends at this party, and you punch a dude in the face, and nothing happens to you, which is, I don't know how you survived that. Like, going back in time, like, how did you avoid getting attacked, and how did you become the only one throwing a punch in that scenario where you kind of deserve to be punched? We're talking about alcohol, someone's sister. How did that happen? Like, how did you talk your way out of it and party the rest of the night?
I wish I could. I wish I could give you a reason why, but I was pretty inebriated. I mean, I've been known to be. I'm a fun drunk, but I can also be a bit of an angry drunk.
Yeah.
And yeah, I just felt like this guy was kind of getting in my face. I mean, I just remember it wasn't me just being disrespectful to this girl. Like, I feel like it was like a mutual thing, right?
Yeah, you're doing your thing.
Yeah,
it was a mutual thing. Trust me.
Yeah,
I was friends with that girl. It was mutual. She wanted Shaggy. That night.
Yeah, maybe that's why I got away with it. It was just some Shaggy from Scooby-Doo. Come on, who can hit Shaggy, man? Come on, he's just solving mysteries with his dog,
Unbelievable, man.
Nothing not to love. I didn't drop that Shaggy for a long time. I really did look like Shaggy.
No, you did, man. It was a good look, man. It was a good look, and it was a good look that Demko was, able to look like the Demko of old. And I think it's safe to say, you talk about the over-exaggeration that we might have had early on in today's episode. Hey, I brought up a lot of those issues up throughout the last couple of days, to be honest. Defensively, the effort, it was going to hit us in the face eventually. But I don't think we're exaggerating here because Demko is an elite athlete. We've seen him do it in the past, and when he has momentum on his side, he's one of the best players in the NHL. And I know there's cause for concern, again, in so many areas for the team, but when you have a guy like Demko, he applies patience to the organization, and it allows all those little things to kind of clean itself up. All in all, I think the Canucks are in a good shape. At 2-1, at the start of this road trip, they're still going to have a chance to win every game on this road trip. I'm guaranteeing it because of Demko. For real.
Yeah, and I'll say not even just because of Demko, but just because of the Demko-DeSmith tandem. I mean, so far, the Canucks, again, we're very, very early in the season. But at even strength, they have a top 5 save percentage in the NHL, over 97% of all pucks stopped at even strength. If you want to go to all strength, including power play penalty kill, the Canucks are still ranked 7th in the NHL with a .945 save percentage. So, and in 2 or 3 games, like, goaltending's played a huge part.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, in game 1, it didn't really matter. Canucks were all over.
You know what? I want to say it did matter because, again, early on, within the first couple of minutes, Demko just looked solid, and it kind of, I feel as if when you have that type of goaltending early on, it kind of gives confidence and a bit of swagger. You're talking about the home opener. The equation was there for something great to happen. I just want the budge in because early on, when you get good goaltending, it does something to the team. Just that belief.
Yeah.
Now, obviously, we didn't get that belief yesterday, but again, Demko, man, just optimistic about what I've been seeing, and I feel as if the Canucks are going to be in good shape to be in most of the games this season.
Yeah, well, I mean, honestly, you want to talk about that belief in terms of early saves. I mean, Demko let one of the first shots of the game by him, right? And it was just one of those goals, like a shot from the point, bit of a floater. He didn't see it. So I don't want to fault him too much on that, especially because he stopped everything else aside from a freaking penalty shot. And by the way, that was a sick move by Sean Couturier.
Mm-hmm.
That was filthy with the little back skate, backhand to forehand. Anyways, Demko, but overall, he's just been so solid. And, that save late in the third period where he robbed Scott Lawton on the 2-on-1. Oh my God, man. I almost jumped out of my boxers, man. Good thing I was indoors. But, again, the Canucks, they need Thatcher Demko to be brilliant because as we talked about off the top of the show, this defense is a massive concern. And I think this team, again, I predict them to be a playoff team. But for that to happen, Demko's got to be at a near Vezina level. And again, very, very early returns. But he seems to have lived up to the part. Let's just see him continue that as well. And again, give Casey DeSmith a bit of credit as well because he was rock solid against the Edmonton Oilers in the second game of the season.
Yeah, he was. And he did his thing, and I don't expect him to do that all the time, but I don't know. Again, a part of me does expect Thatcher Demko to be like that 98% of the time. He has a lot to prove, and he's really good, really talented, like super elite, one of the best players in the NHL when he's on, and that's a good thing for us. And if the Canucks can, again, I think defensively and the structure and whatnot, I think that comes second, to be honest, when it comes to the things they need to fix, because the first thing they need to fix right off the jump is the effort level. They're getting beat way too many times on these 50-50 battles. Like, way too many times in the last 6 periods. Well, I guess the last 5 out of the last 6 periods. It's honestly a damn shame. Bro, if we lose to the Flyers, again, we were in the Bedard sweepstakes for most of the season last year. They were, we're dreaming. We're being optimistic here. We got top-end talent. We're still thinking that, we can go from worst to quote-unquote first, whatever that means, The Flyers aren't thinking like that, but at the end of the day, history says that these are two bad teams facing each other. Things can happen. You're going to lose to the Flyers. But if you're going to lose any games this season, dude, this fan base on this side of the world does not deserve that type of effort more often than not. It doesn't. And for 2 of the first 3 games this season, we've been pathetic. And I'm honestly kind of grateful that Talkit is able to kind of tell the fans that we're not happy about this. Like, that's the type of messaging that's kind of needed. That being said, it doesn't matter about his messaging to us. Like, it has to stick with the players so they can wake up. Because this is not good enough, and it's already happening early on. Concerning. The structure, again, happens second. What I want to see tomorrow, if we lose, we lose. But can we try hard for at least 45 minutes of the game? For real.
Yeah, I agree. It can't all be on Thatcher Demko. The boys, they got to step up tomorrow. And I think tomorrow is going to be very telling in terms of how the Canucks respond. Let me tell you about something else, though, okay? Before we get to comment corner, picture this. Brock Besser scores 4 goals in a game. Oh, hey, that just happened. The Canucks, they win the Stanley Cup.
Whoa.
And if you want, you can win 100 times your money by playing daily fantasy hockey on the Sleeper app. These are all possible scenarios for this season, but to have a chance at winning big, you need to play daily fantasy hockey on Sleeper, the official fantasy app of the Locked On NHL Network. Sleeper is our top choice for daily fantasy sports, especially daily fantasy hockey. Let's go, baby. With Sleeper, you can win 100 times your cash in daily fantasy hockey contests. On Sleeper, you can bet on goals, assists, saves, plus, minus, and more. You can pick the overs or unders on them. I don't know if they have an over-under on Tyler Myers' gaffes per 60. But Sleeper, maybe you should put that in there because a lot of people would be smashing the over on that. Okay, Tyler Myers, get him. But hey, you know what, Canucks fans? You heard me. You can get 100 times payouts on Sleeper. So start paying attention and get your picks right so you could win big. Use promo code LOCKEDONNHL and you'll get up to a $100 match on your first deposit. Terms and conditions apply. That's Locked On NHL. See Sleeper's terms of use for details.
Okay, you're back on Locked On Canucks. Your Canucks every day is provided over here on this side of the world. Kyle Bhawan, Trevor Beggs, my guy, doing his thing, celebrating birthdays, being the father of the year, and still squeezing in a Canuck game. I don't know how you're doing it, man. Okay, there you go. I want to talk about that because, again, Vancouver Canucks, the organization, that's not good enough because people are partially ditching their daughter's birthday parties to watch you give no effort. And that's, again, clearly not good enough. Anyways, Beggsy, I'm going to ask you the most important question in the world. Make sure you ask your people this too. How you doing?
Hey, I'm not doing too bad, man. And in terms of yesterday, I was had the game on my phone, headphones in at the office, and then got home for the third period where I watched the rest of the game with my 4-month-old son sleeping in my arms. So,
wow.
Despite the Canucks losing, it's when you got your kids around, it makes it a little better. Plus, my daughter turned 3 yesterday, though, man. So I guess I'm getting old.
Nah, you're not getting old, man. It is what it is, and I'm happy for you, man. I'm happy that you have it's not necessarily like escapism around you because it's real, your children around you, and you don't have to hold on to losses the way I'm holding on to losses, and it's because of you that I'm holding on to these losses. Again, I'm addicted to the Canucks, and the hit is nice, don't get me wrong. I love the addiction. It's nice, I got something to do, I got something to escape to, but I get emotional after. It's not the win-loss thing. I get really emotional when it comes to effort. I don't know why. I don't know why. It's not like I try super hard in life, but I expect others to try hard for me. It's crazy. It's crazy, man. Hey.
That's a lie, man. You got a lot of balls in the air between your jobs, the podcast network. All week with Kyle Bhawan. Go check that out. I think he's got 27 different shows on that network.
Yeah.
Plus all the work you do here for Locked On Canucks, man. So you're a busy guy, man. Give yourself some credit.
Hey, man. Hey, speaking of credit, let's give the fans some credit. A lot of people joining us over the last couple of weeks. A lot of people commenting, and let's get to one of those comments on this part of the show called Comment Corner.
Welcome to Comment Corner, powered by Paraphrasing.
This comment comes from Rod.
I think if you take a peek, the Blue Jackets could have exactly what we need on D. You know the deal. We only need good D, and trust me, they got real good D in Ohio.
Okay, I didn't want to do this because I don't want to put it in the air, because based on what some people have told me, based on what you might have told me too, Andrew Peeke, a guy the Canucks may be targeting, because we talked about Tyler Myers, we talked about Noah Juleson. I don't want the Canucks to trade Garland for nothing. I know cap space is really, really important, but I feel as if again they trade him for nothing, aka a bad player, it doesn't make this team a better hockey team. Like, if you trade for a guy like Andrew Peeke, he has to play like 16 minutes a game, 17 minutes a game, and we see what happens with Tyler Myers when he plays that much. Like, the focus should be to bring in good players and not be desperate, right?
Yeah, and I agree, and I just don't know. It comes back to, what are you going to do with the cap space you free up, right? I think, the Canucks plan on spending to the cap regardless. So, the big benefit for making that move is that you trade Garland for Peeke, you clear up over $2 million in cap space, and you fill positional need. But that being said, Andrew Peeke has not played like a good, credible NHL player for the most part. I mean, he throws the body a lot. He blocks lots of shots, but haven't been impressed with his puck decisions when I watched him. And I think it kind of speaks for himself right now, right? Eric Gudbranson is playing above him in the lineup, right? Eric Gudbranson is one of the 6 Blue Jackets defensemen who has been dressed. Andrew Peeke has been healthy, scratched out for 2 of the Blue Jackets.
This ain't happening. I didn't know that, dude. Scratch this conversation, bro. We ain't trading for a guy who's not playing in the NHL to bring him to like help his decor out. Nah.
To your point, though, is Andrew Peeke better than Tyler Myers? Is he better than Noah Juleson? I mean, that's a fair debate.
Well, okay.
And then you have an additional $2 million in cap space to improve the team. That's the debate.
Okay, well, on that note, because I'm talking about this year, like the cap space, when I see them trading Garland, I feel as if they're preparing for next offseason with that cap space, okay? But all in all, let's just talk about this before we get out of here. Would this team be a better team without Tyler Myers? Like, if Akito's playing, you get what I'm saying? Someone who's more calm and more poised than Tyler Myers. I actually think about this a lot, and we talked about this over the summer. There was like that's we were scared, right? Collectively, like, how is this team going to get under the cap? And we're still having those cap issues. Well, why not waive Tyler Myers? Because do we need him on the ice? Is he really making us a better hockey team? I don't think so. I think they're better off suited. I know it sounds crazy, but playing Akito Hirose somehow, some way, maybe on I don't know, just someone who's more calm. Someone who's more poised, because Myers is not that. And I feel as if, again, when he makes mistakes, this team is just not able to dig themselves out of that chaotic hole. Like, I feel like Myers is a player, when he's not on, he gives the other team so much momentum.
Yeah, and honestly, though, I see Noah Juleson almost as like a Tyler Myers light. Like, he's out there making mistakes too, making poor puck decisions with the puck. So it's like, okay, you waive Tyler Myers. Now what, is Noah Juleson in a top 4 role? I think Rick Tocchet at the end of the day probably has to reconsider his whole I want righties on the right side, I want lefties on the left side thing, right? Because right now it's just that just doesn't work for this Canucks team. Like, you need Hughes and Hronek on separate pairings, spread out the wealth, because it is way too thin after those two guys.
Yeah, that's the answer.
Yeah, and maybe I will ask a comment before we get out of here, whether it's on YouTube, Spotify, you can hit us up on Twitter as well. Let us know what your ideal defense combinations look like, because right now it's a bit of a mess. I'd probably still stick with what I had in the offseason, where I had Hughes with Susie, try to see if that can work. Go Cole and Hronek, and then your third pairing, not Juleson, but I would probably go like Hirose and Myers.
You know what, Beggsy?
Let us know in the comments what you think, though, Matt.
You know what, Beggsy? We're going to talk about this tomorrow, okay? Because we're at the end of the show. But I feel as if the Canucks, and there's an opportunity to do so, right? Because they're in Florida. Like, no matter what happens, win or loss, they got to go out. They got to go out. They got to party. For real. They got to build up that camaraderie, maybe build up some internal confidence, some swagger, so they stand up for each other, maybe, just to play better too. But again, on this road trip, they got to go out early on. Just get that brotherhood up, because from what I'm seeing, again, it's nice, we're scoring some goals, doing our thing. Am I overanalyzing it? Maybe, but again, I'm also seeing a lack of effort and a lack of standing up for each other. So this road trip, it means a lot for this team because they have to get off to a good start, and it also means a lot for the boys. Like, get together, go out for some dinners, have some drinks, make some noise, do your thing, and enjoy the ride. And be together, for real. Speaking of being together, me and Beggsy possibly being together forever on here, Locked On Canucks, right? Your Canucks every day. Again, subscribe and like if you did enjoy the episode. And yeah, Beggsy, sign us out.
Yeah, Kyle, I will say I think that's a great idea for tomorrow's episode. It'll be unofficially brought to you by TripAdvisor and Reddit. We'll plan out the perfect night for the Canucks.
Let's do it.
During their road trip in Florida. But yeah, that's it for this episode of Locked On Canucks. Shout out to the everydayers, the occasional listeners. If this is your first time listening, I hope you come back. And a special shout out as well to the new subscribers on YouTube. We also did our first short game show last night. Kyle and I will be there sooner than you think with some YouTube shorts after every Canucks game. And going into tomorrow's episode, we'll preview that Tampa matchup. I want to talk about the Canucks. Are they men or are they mice? Okay,
Whoa.
What are the Canucks going to be? What are they going to be, Kyle? What are they going to be? More on that tomorrow. But for now, I'm Trevor Beggs. That guy's Kyle Bhawan. And you've been listening to Locked On Canucks.